Oh boy, everyone's very, very different after that. So we have two raffles. One's going to be the Ghostbusters car. The other one's going to be for the Barbie car in the movie theaters. Put your business cards in there. We'll make sure we'll pick you. We'll announce it tomorrow, okay? All right, so thank you very much. My pleasure to introduce your fearless leader. Here's Kara. Kara, thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kaya Stanley. I am the license holder and president of TEDxReno, and I am thrilled to be hosting the first ever TEDxReno Salon. So how many of you have ever attended one of the TEDxReno events? Okay, quite a few of you. Okay, so salons are a little bit different because they're meant to be a little bit more fair, but really we are really spending a lot of time over 6 months. If you're a volunteer for TEDxReno, will you please raise your hand or stand up? Look at all these sponsors out here, partners out here. Literally, these are business owners, these are professionals, these are doctors, medical directors, these are lawyers, these are professional people who take the time out of their life because they love the idea of ideas we're spreading, and that's all TED is. It's not anything political, it's not anything divisive, it's not anything about making money or commercial. It's just to spread ideas, and that's the only reason we do it. And so we just all love what we do. So thank you to our sponsors. I literally, absolutely, figuratively, literally could not do this without any of you. It's amazing. And with that, I would like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, Nancy Fennell, who is the Master of Ceremonies and also the Master of Real Estate and has become a good friend. We met on the Art Museum board, and she agreed to come and be our Master of Ceremonies today. Let's cheers for Nancy.
Thank you. Unlike Kaya, I need my notes, so I'm using this as a podium. So I am so honored to introduce and to welcome you all to the first TEDxReno Salon. So is that amazing? A certified financial coach, and her personal mission resonates clearly with her personal values of community engagement. She brings a wealth of experience and dedication to her role, both from her personal and professional background. Her career is underpinned by a steadfast dedication to cultivating meaningful relationships that drive positive changes for others. In her private life, she's a devoted single mom of 2 children and 2 beloved puggies, which I'm assuming are dogs. She has proudly called Reno her home since 1995. So thank you, Valerie, and all who are joining us from the Great Basin College. So now we get to the good stuff, and I do have to read this because it's so extensive and it's so amazing. So I'm so pleased to introduce our keynote speakers tonight. Alex Carter is a clinical professor of law and the director of the mediation clinic at Columbia Law School. She's a world-renowned negotiation trainer for the United Nations, for Fortune 500 companies, for the U.S. courts, and for federal agencies, and much more. In 2019, as if that weren't enough, she was awarded the Columbia University Presidential Award for Outstanding Teaching, which is Columbia's highest teaching honor. Professor Carter's first book, Ask for More, and who doesn't love that title, 10 Questions to Negotiate Anything, was published by Simon & Schuster on May 5th, 2020, and became an instant Wall Street Journal business bestseller. The first negotiation book solo authored by a woman to make that list. She's a frequent media commentator on negotiation and pay equity for women, with appearances on Good Morning America, MSNBC's Morning Joe and MSNBC Live, Hardball with Chris Matthews, the CBS Early Show, and NPR Marketplace. She's a contributor for NBC News Know Your Value, a news site devoted to helping women grow in their careers and reach their full potential. So we know she must be a fabulous mom because now I'm going to introduce her daughter, Carolyn Carter Limbrick, who is a 7th grade student at Morristown Beard School. She served in student government, was appointed as a Crimson Ambassador responsible for introducing new families and children to the schools. A dedicated athlete, in addition to swimming for Morristown Beard, she competes year-round for Scarlet Athletics, and during the summers, her hometown team, the Maplewood Makos. In 2023, she set the Maplewood town record in the girls' 50-yard backstroke, despite swimming with a physical disability. She's an experienced public speaker who has presented on gender equality to the United Nations and to cooperations on self-advocacy for girls and women. So please welcome Alex and Carolyn.
Your mic. Okay. Well, looks like we're making history tonight, right? First ever TEDx Salon in Reno. And I just have to say, once again, I know everyone has been thanked, but just personally, as a negotiation professor, but more importantly, as a mom, tonight is basically the pinnacle. Getting to be here with all of you and with my 13-year-old daughter, Caroline, is an absolute dream come true. And thank you. And you better stick around afterward for that champagne and Girl Scout cookie reception, okay? Talk about an incentive. So before we get into what we're going to talk about today, I want to tell you why I'm here and what got me started on this mission of being a negotiation coach and wanting to help millions of people, but especially girls and women, negotiate for themselves. So I wonder if anyone in the room here is like me. I grew up being the person who was a fearless negotiator for everyone but myself. Anyone else? Hands up? Okay. All right, we're in excellent company. All right. So the first day I ever negotiated for my salary, okay, a number of years ago, I walked in my giant heels, you know, so I could fool people into thinking I was 5'4".
I was about to say, you can walk in heels.
Not anymore, love. That after 40, that goes away. So, and I walked in, and the offer I received was better than I expected. And so, believe it or not, I had this crisis inside. Why? Because I thought I had to accept good enough, that I had to accept fine. But I had just enough sense to say, thank you, I'll get back to you. And I called a senior woman in my field. And I asked her, you know, what should I do? And she said, I'm going to tell you what to do, Alex. You're going to get back in there, and you're going to ask for more. Recognize that from anywhere? And she said, because when you teach someone how to value you, you're teaching them how to value all of us. So if you're not going to ask for more for yourself, I want you to go in there and do it for the woman who's coming after you. Do it for the sisterhood. And that's when I first started to reframe how I thought about negotiation. All this time I thought that if I asked for more, it meant somebody else got less. But then I realized that when you take your seat at the table, that seat comes with a microphone that you can use to amplify other people and eventually scrap that table and build a bigger one. So we're here tonight to talk about self-advocacy for girls and women, because the second biggest thing after that negotiation was then the birth of my daughter. And here tonight, I want to tell you, there is research that shows girls can feel pressure to ask for less starting at age 8. Study from Boston College just a couple years ago, right? It shows up that early. So I am thrilled to see some girls here tonight as well, right? And may this be the start of a lifetime of knowing your value. So, Caroline.
Oh, God.
We're here to talk a bit about sharing our story and sharing our accomplishments. Because the thing about negotiation is, it's not just numbers. Numbers come at the end. But we start at the beginning with our words, with our messages, teaching people about our value, teaching them who we are, what we've accomplished, what we're capable of. And so, Caroline, I would like to know, have you ever felt pressure or been outright told by someone not to talk about your accomplishments?
Like, literally so many times.
So many times. Tell us about one of them.
So I was in 2nd grade. I was only swimming for like less than a year. That was like my first year on the swim team. Obviously, I could swim like for survival, but like I wasn't that great. But luckily for me, all the other 8 and under girls were literally doing the same exact thing. So I was at this gingerbread meet for only 8 and unders, and pretty much if you got first place in like this little like there's like 6 lanes, and like if you won out of those 6 girls in that little like 20-second race, then you got this little plastic gingerbread that they probably got from Dollar Tree. But it is like a really cool accomplishment when you're 8 years old. So I got that, and I finished 2nd overall, and I was like, I just got a plastic gingerbread man, and I finished 2nd overall. Okay, this is really cool. So I walked into my 2nd grade classroom, and I said to one of the girls, I was like, oh yeah, I was at my swim meet this weekend, and I got 2nd place. And she said, literally no one cares, Caroline.
Right? And that was from another girl. Right? I mean, that is the thing, right? You know, I'm loving looking at the male allies here tonight. Welcome. We're so glad you're here.
You guys are great.
And it's...
Tell your friends.
Bring more next time. Incredible.
Bring even more.
Even more men. You know, and the thing is that sometimes we can do this to ourselves too, right? We can shut each other down. Caroline, how does it feel when somebody asks you about what you're proud about and shouts you out for your accomplishments?
So I have an amazing friend who I've known since 6th grade. She's a swimmer too, and we're still best friends in 7th grade. And she constantly, I know, right? Girls being friends in 7th grade, it's like a new concept. So she asked me actually about this talk, and she was like, oh my God, wait, that's so cool. You're doing it for TEDx? She was like, I'm a Girl Scout. Can I come? And I was like, you sure? And she was like, yeah, anything to skip class.
Anything to skip class, indeed.
And to get Girl Scout cookies, absolutely.
So yeah, so isn't that nice to have a friend who's really excited about what you're doing? By the way, this is a very intellectual friend of Caroline's who has watched TEDx talks and was super impressed.
Yeah, she's like a lot smarter than me.
Yeah. So you've experienced this around accomplishments, right? You know, and here's where sometimes people will ask me, speaking about accomplishments, what was the most difficult part of writing a best-selling book? And I have to tell them honestly, it wasn't writing the book, because I had it written in my head for years. I knew exactly what I wanted to say. And it actually also wasn't promoting the book, because I really believed in it and I wanted to get the message out. The most difficult part was, in order to get a book published, you need an agent. And in order to get an agent, you have to write a book proposal. And part of the book proposal is talking about who you are and why, of all the people in the world, you need an idea worth spreading, right? Like TEDx, like Kaya was saying. But you also need to show why you are the person to tell people that idea. And so I had to write this section about myself. And even though I teach this, I found it so painful. I had to redo it 5 times.
That's a lot of times.
That's a lot of times. And each time I would have a group of women look at it, and I would say, is it good enough? And they'd say, nope, you're too modest, jack it up more. So it got to the place finally where, that line that our wonderful MC read, Alex Carter is a world-renowned negotiation trainer? I wrote that line. And
don't you also have in your LinkedIn, like, world's #1 female negotiator?
I may or may not have that as well. I think that was on Clubhouse, but yes, that's on one of the social
Clubhouse
media.
still exists?
Yes, it does. So here, we're going to talk a little bit, and we actually are going to give you an opportunity to talk to each other for a few minutes. Because our goal here tonight is not just that you hear us, but that you get to know some of the powerful women who are in this room, right? And talking about your accomplishments is actually a critical part of negotiating. And we women especially, research shows, feel pressure to downplay them, to downplay credit. I see some nods for things that we have achieved. And that actually, research shows, can contribute to the wage gap, right? Because it's not our fault that we don't want to claim these credits and claim these accomplishments. It's society telling us, Alex, you're just lucky to be here. But we're going to change that, all right? So, Caroline, we have an opportunity for people to interact. So would you like to give our audience their instructions?
Okay, so you are going to turn to your neighbor, and if you're in a group, like, no larger than 3 or like 4, because we want time for everybody to share, you're gonna answer 2 questions. It is, what do you feel most confident about, like most proud of? And what are some areas where someone could help you feel more confident and proud in yourself?
Okay. So that's the assignment, all right? And we're going to give you a few minutes now to turn to your neighbor and answer those questions. And then we're going to have an opportunity for a few people to share live, all right? So some
If you
people,
share, you get a cookie.
maybe you get an extra cookie. All right? So go ahead and talk, and Caroline and I are going to come around for a couple of minutes. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna come back and people are gonna share. So if anybody would like to share, raise their hand and share something that they discussed. Okay, we've got a hand. Should I give her a microphone?
Hold on a second. We'll give... Okay, the microphone is coming around right here. And
Yes,
we'd
do-
love if, when you share, if you could stand up, tell us your name, and then share with us what you would like to share.
Okay, I am Debbie McCarthy, About Town Deb, your local community connector.
Woo!
And this question is a really good one for me. This whole talk, if anybody knows me, I'm the one who does everything for everybody else. And when you ask, like, what are you most proud of? I'm like, I don't know. But then I thought
feel
about
the
it.
same way.
It's horrible. But I think the thing I feel most proud about is that I've built a brand around bringing people together. I've done it organically with my heart and believing in the community. So I feel like that would be my gift to our community, is loving and caring and connecting people. So I really feel like I'm proud of that. That's
Woo!
Woo! I did it!
I love that.
That was incredible. Thank you.
Yeah, and what's great about that is you can see from Debbie's example, right, that when you lean into your gifts and you show them, you create opportunities for people to come together, right? So how incredible. All right, who's our next
Do we
contestant?
have any other hands? Yes.
Yes,
we have a
do.
hand.
Oh my goodness, it's one of our girls. Let's give
This is
her
the
a
best.
warm
You
round
guys
of
better
applause.
be so loud with your clapping.
My name is Jordan, and I'm in 4th grade, and the thing I'm most proud of is getting 3rd place in the Nevada State Art Contest.
Woo!
This is
Jordan,
That is so cool.
how cool is that?
That is literally so cool. I want to be you.
And you know what, Jordan? What I would say to you is, next time you tell somebody that, okay? I want you to stand up nice and straight, and you don't apologize, okay? Because that is really impressive and spectacular, and the world should know about that. The world's going to hear a lot more from Jordan. Amazing.
I can't even draw a stick figure.
That is fantastic. Let's take one more. One
Okay,
more
we have a hand.
Over here. I was going to say,
have
nobody
a
wants to
hand.
follow you, Jordan. All right, talk to us. Tell us your name.
My name is Becky, and I do a lot of things, but one of the things that I shared that I'm most proud of is I dropped out of high school and had a baby, and I'm graduating in May with my 2nd master's.
Woo! Woo! That is
Really inspiring.
really inspiring, right? And it just shows that, you know, there are lots of different seasons to our lives, and you had a season where you were being a mom, and then you went back for that degree, that master's. Just incredible, right? And you know what I love to hear is the pride in people's voices when they share this. This is part of negotiation. This is being an advocate for yourself. It's telling your story. And when I think back to, if I hadn't written that book proposal and written that section about me, we wouldn't be here together tonight, right? And so Caroline and I want for you to feel comfortable, and not even comfortable, proud, sharing who you are, and just know that when you do it, you open up opportunities to serve. So here is where Caroline and I would like to share with you a couple of personal stories that connect to some of the research that I do in the classroom. And the first is, you know, Caroline mentioned that she's a competitive swimmer. And
That first?
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do that one first.
All right, we'll do that one first.
Okay.
And part of what I want to highlight here is that Caroline's going to share a story right? About how sometimes some of us can feel a little bit different, like we're different than other people, or maybe we feel less than in some way, or society tells us we have a disability and that means we're not going to be able to achieve as much. But that you can be different, and that can be why you succeed. That can be what makes you special. So,
Remember I said something this morning about that?
yeah.
I said, so many people are criticized for being different and that people should be the same. I think that same and different should just be taken out of the dictionary. We are humans. Everybody is different in their own ways. And if somebody is criticizing somebody for being different, then they can go get a job and have some fun in that corporate job.
Right. They can get a hobby, right? So, Caroline, when you first started swimming, you were a backstroker. And, but then one day, right, I think in part because backstroke was where your physical disability limited you a little bit less.
Maybe also I could breathe whenever I wanted to.
Yeah, so maybe you can share with people a little bit about what your physical difference was, and then the big opportunity that you asked for from your coach and got.
Okay, so I had swam, there's this thing called the 500. It's 20 laps. I would just turned 11 years old, and I was like, this seems kind of cool. Why didn't I swim it? So when I was 11 years old, my cap and goggles fell off, my hair was out, I was dying. I did get second place though, and I was really proud. And I actually wasn't too tired by the end of it, which is kind of weird because my cap and goggles were tired by the second lap. But I said, you know what? I don't really like swimming the 2-lap races. Why don't I swim 1,000? That's double, but now I'm prepared. Now I'm older. I'm 12 years old.
How many laps is the 1,000 freestyle?
So the 1,000 is 40 laps. Yeah, no, that's a lot. It's about a 10 to 12 minute race. 10 if you're really fast, 12 if you're me. And then, so I asked my coach, or my dad emailed my coach and was like, hey, she really wants to swim the 1,000. She's a good distance swimmer. Can she swim at this meet? And he was like, yeah, let me check if it's available. She can totally swim it. And he said, so that is unfortunately not available. We do have our mile available, which is an extra 650 along with the 1,000. So instead of swimming 44 laps, I will be swimming 66.
So Caroline was swimming 66 laps, and what she didn't mention is that she was swimming it in the same pool as a 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-old girl.
I think there was also a couple 14-year-olds in there, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so she was the youngest in the field, and she was also swimming with one leg that was 2 inches shorter than the other.
Not fun. Don't do it.
So she gets up to the starting block, and I just have to say that as a mom, I was trying to be calm and failing miserably. Because
I was about to say you were not calm.
I was not.
But you are a great mom for that.
Thank you. So you know that when you see your kid about to do something big and you think, I can't protect them from failing.
I wasn't going to drown, so I feel like you'd be okay.
That's true. But you were the night before really nervous.
Yeah, so I crawled into bed. I was with Mom. I'm going to reenact this because I did this once before. And I literally, since we're very close, I went like this. And I was like, Mom, I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. This is not happening. These girls are 15. The only other girl on my team who's 15 dropped out because she didn't want to do it. And I'm 12, and I just turned 12 a month ago. I'm not trying to do this. I'm trying to go home as soon as possible now.
So I said, just stay in your lane, swim your race. So she's swimming and almost immediately falls behind. The girls are starting to lap her.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of expected.
And then the bell rings, like for the Olympics, where the leader finishes. And one by one, the girls hit the wall. Sorry. And she's out there by herself.
Not as embarrassing as you think.
And I I knew that she saw, because when you turn to breathe and freestyle, you can see the pool. And I knew that she saw she was alone. And I thought to myself, I hope she's going to be able to finish. But then I saw something I didn't expect, which is Caroline sped up. She decided to fight. She swam the last 4 laps of that race as fast as she swam the first 4. 63, 64, 65, 66. And when she hit the wall, you can applaud in a second. When she hit the wall, her coach did this.
He's he does a lot of expressions. They kind of do the same thing. Like old bald men, like when they're coaching, they're like, yeah! And they go like this, or they go like this. This means kick, but swimmers actually hate that because they're kicking as hard as they can.
Right, it's like telling you to go faster when you're feeling dead. And I didn't, frankly, understand why he was celebrating. I'm like, did you see what happened out there? She came in last.
Okay, thanks, Mom.
And then my honest thoughts, he pointed to the clock. And that's when I saw that Caroline was supposed to swim the race in 22 minutes, but instead she swam it in
20 minutes and 50 seconds.
Meaning that although she finished last, she put up the 6th fastest time in the state of New Jersey for an 11-12 girl in the mile. And she did it with one leg that was 2 inches shorter than the other.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to give like a short little perspective of me in those last 6 laps.
Okay.
So she was like, oh my God, she's alone. How's she going to finish? And like she sees those girls. She's probably so upset. I sped up because I was like, okay, I've kind of been like going slow on this. I kind of got to speed up here. And when I saw those girls, was I upset? No. I was like, dang, you guys finished? Lucky. I want to be done. It's like, I want to eat. I want to go home. And I was like, I literally, and that is actually a reminder, when it looks like somebody is looking at you, they are absolutely not. Because everybody walks in and they are all so insecure of themselves that they're not even looking at you.
Yes.
In fact, they're looking at that pool like, can I go home? Can I ditch this meet to go to Starbucks? I'm not trying to do this.
So here I was catastrophizing, and she's like, it's not that deep, Mom. I finished the race. So, fresh on the heels of that success, like trying something new for the first time, right? Especially to the girls in the audience, just want to tell you, take a risk. To the big girls in the audience, I want to tell you, take a risk, right? Bet on yourself. So fast forward to November of the same year, and I teach at the United Nations with my students. And here's where I want to say, especially to the girls in the room, I brokered this partnership between Columbia and the UN, whereby we provide conflict resolution training to all the diplomats who are in New York. And initially, I was so nervous about the partnership that my students did the research, and then I would go in and do the teaching. And one day I thought to myself, Alex, you give students so many opportunities. Why are you at the front of the room and not them? So I changed, and I started training them to speak at the front of the room. And my students, by the way, are from all over the world. And they can connect with these diplomats sometimes in ways that I never could. I'll never forget the time that a diplomat from Rwanda stood up and told a story, and then one of my students stood up and said, I'm also from Rwanda, and here's my perspective. So, November, we're doing a program on gender equity in negotiation and peace building, because around the world, girls and women are disproportionately affected by conflict, but we are almost never selected to be at the table to negotiate peace.
We are another gender. Men make a lot of money. Why don't they just include women so we can make double amount of money, stop inflation, and bring down those gas prices?
And there's that as well. So I asked Caroline initially, you know, would you like to come along and watch this? Because she was on break from school.
I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come and do this. Like, this is fine.
And then I had a flash of inspiration and I said, do you think you might like to present a few slides to the diplomats on girls' rights around the world and how girls are affected by conflict?
So I kind of took this as like a little 6th grade geography presentation I did in front of like 30 people, like maybe like 15 people. So I was like, yeah, sure, this could be fine. Yeah, I'll do it. Let me tell you, the night before, it was not fine. I did the same thing where I like cradled her and I was like, I don't want to do this. And I remember, I'm going to quote myself here. I said, I am 13. These are full-grown adults. Some of these students presenting have beards. Like, at the time, was I in 6th or 7th grade?
You were in 7th.
Okay,
Yep.
I was in 7th grade. So I was like, I'm in 7th grade. I'm not even in high school. I'm learning about integers, and these people are out here with their corporate lawyer jobs, like ready to present at the UN, and I'm just kind of like the little one, like, hi.
So how many people in this room have ever said yes to an opportunity and then the night before thought to themselves, oh my gosh, can I do it?
Like, literally, what am I doing?
Okay, so Caroline, not alone.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
And when she said this to me, she came into my bed and she said, you know, I'm a 7th grader. And I said, exactly. Who else in the room is an expert on what it means to be a girl today? Who else can speak to that experience?
And I was like, probably no one.
Probably no one. So we went in, we showed up to the UN, and here's where, Caroline, I want you to tell people what that experience was like walking into that building and then sitting at the table.
Okay, so I walked into the building and I walk into this room. It's like a big oval. There's a bunch of little like kind of like rooms next to it that said like French, Spanish, Chinese, just to kind of like for like the translators. There was nobody there, but like there was rooms. And so I saw these little hashtags with these screens at the table that said hashtag her seat at the table. And I was like, oh, whoa, that's really cool. So I walk across, Mom shows me where I'm sitting, and I took my seat at the table. And might I also point out that the UN is very accepting. They did not have a single period product in that bathroom. Just would like to point that out.
Right, so Caroline, true gender equity champion, was noticing, right, the lack of period products in the bathroom.
Come on, we gotta support women here.
That's right. But when you spoke, you were saying the diplomats were really accepting. And here's to the girls, I want you to know, and to the big girls, I could tell you were nervous. I was nervous too.
Everybody was nervous.
Everybody was nervous, and you pushed through those nerves and presented to the UN.
And to all the girls out there, the adults in that room are so much nicer than elementary, middle, and high schoolers. They are so much more accepting. They are not going to laugh at a random thing you say. And they are willing to answer your questions because they are normal people with fully developed brains.
So it turns out, right, that some experiences we think are going to be scary actually might be better than we think, right? And this experience with Caroline brought home a lot of what I teach about negotiation, right? Which is number one, by the way, Caroline was not the only person to speak at the UN and feel unqualified. In 2012, they called me at the last minute because I think I was a junior professor and I think a more senior famous professor had canceled. And so they went through the phone book and said, who can we call? Oh, she looks good.
You were on the wait list. Like,
I was
be
on the
proud.
wait list, amen. And so they called me and they said, could you present at our first ever skills building summit for women called Women Negotiating Peace? And I thought to myself, I don't really know the UN system. I've never done this before, but what came out of my mouth was absolutely. And I prepared like crazy, went in, and at the end of it, they said, we'd like to do a partnership with you. So I just want to say in this room, that before we get to our panel, which I'm so excited about,
Literally so cool.
that I've learned a lot from being a negotiation teacher, professor, coach. I've learned even more, I would say, from being Caroline's mom. And I want you all to know, every single person in this room, that one of the greatest things I've learned from you, Caroline, right, is that you can feel different, you could be different in a way, and you can succeed fabulously. And that a lot of times, negotiation is the way we speak to ourselves. That's where it starts. And so whatever it is that you're proud about, we
Feel
want you
confident.
to go
Literally do it.
do it, go out and share it. And I want you to see what we see, which is that each person in this room has limitless potential. Negotiation is for everyone, and I want you to know the recent studies show that when women are supported, we negotiate as well or better than the guys. So go out.
Support Pink, guys.
Go out and ask for more. And when you do it, tell them that Caroline and Alex sent you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
So with that, Isla is coming up, our fearless leader.
No, it's not me.
It's not you.
It's Nancy.
Okay, you're handing the microphone to Nancy.
I'm the filler. So we have.
The filling is the most delicious part of the sandwich, Nancy.
It is. And it's also the most delicious part of the Oreo.
So we have about 3 or 4 minutes as they reset the stage for our panel. So this is a time to stand up, to stretch, to mingle, to visit the facilities, to have more cookies, wait on the champagne, and just give us a couple of minutes. But I did want to bring up the the unsung hero right here.
Go, Dad.
And
Hi, I'm Greg Lembrick. I am the very proud husband of Alex and equally, if not more proud, father of Caroline.
Dang, I'm first.
Thank you so much for having us here tonight.
And I think the unsung hero, because we're amazed by these. And he's out here giving out books and being so kind to everyone. So we're glad that you're here.
We had a hand up over here. Nancy, are we taking
Yes.
questions or?
Sure. About what? So we're going to have the panel, and then, which is going to be a lively discussion, so I've heard, and then afterwards is the participation part. And that's the whole purpose of the salon, I believe, is that you will have lots of time to ask questions and have the whole panel talk about it. So just save your questions. Okay?
You can ask me a question if you want. Literally any question. Feel free.
Yes. Oh, I forgot that.
This is so exciting.
Thank you.
So fun.
Okay, so the filler part, should we give a minute or two?
We're going to keep going through to do the panel first before we take a break. So if we could, what do I do here?
Take your cookie and come back to your seats.
Can you grab your cookie and come back to your seats so we can keep going, and then we're going to have the reception afterwards?
Yeah, that means you can eat more cookies. So, get ready.
Okay, so if you're not back in the seat, you don't get to ride in the Barbie car, okay? So, I'm gonna start because I know you guys are kind and will settle down.
All right, everyone, let's come on back together. After the panel, we're going to have time to mingle and chat.
Eat more cookies.
That's right.
So I'm going to start because our amazing Kea Stanley was way too modest. So, and they've given me the hard job. I have to read these because these are remarkable women and they have way too many accomplishments to memorize. But I wanted to talk about Kayla for a minute. She's the TEDx president and organizer. She's the license holder for TEDxReno. And like many of us, she wears multiple hats. She's an attorney, as you heard. She's an author. She's a coach. She's a wife. And a mother. But in her spare time, she's CEO of California's largest restaurant self-insured group. And in 2020, she was recognized as one of the top 25 Opportunity Zone attorneys in the country. So, quite a remarkable.
Woo! She wrote that. There you go.
She did write that.
Fist bump, girl. That's right.
Isla didn't write this because she's much too modest. So we're going to have to work on her. I wrote this for Isla. So Isla, who doesn't need a last name, but just so you know it, is Aktabowski, right? Is that close enough? She is president and CEO of the Nevada Women's Fund, an organization with commitments to breaking down women's barriers to women's educational pursuits and tackling the gender wage gap. It was founded in 1982 and began distributing education, scholarships, and grant funding in 1983. Since then, and I use we because every woman in my family has been on the board since the founding of and something I'm so proud. And I'm even prouder that now my work family is starting to be involved. And so since 1983, over $9 million in grants and scholarships have been given to 177 organizations and awarded 1,759 deserving women's scholarships. And these are scholarships that aren't just the normal scholarships. They can be used for things that no other scholarship can be used for books, for childcare, for things that women need. Last year, they have an established endowment, and as of last June, it was $4 million. They've honored 2,093 women at their largest fundraiser, which is the Women of Achievement Luncheon, which comes up in May of this year, May 23rd, I think. If you haven't got a ticket, buy it now, because there are very few seats left. And if you come, bring tissue, because it is so touching. I've heard a rumor from a very reliable source that Nevada Women's Fund this year will break the $10 million mark.
Woo! That's a lot of money.
So something that Isla would never share with you, but I will. She came from the private sector. She's only been CEO of the Women's Fund for 2 years, for 2 little years, 24 months. And so since her employment, the Nevada Women's Fund has experienced 100% growth. Woo! Who does that? So Now I'd like to introduce Jennifer Rogers Markwell, an Emmy-nominated journalist. Jennifer Rogers Markwell changed gears in her television career when she realized the need to help women and their finances. It started at home when Jennifer began to help when her grandfather passed away, and she wanted to help her grandmother make sense of investing. She founded the women-led firm Platinum Wealth Management, where she regularly hosts monthly educational workshops. And the purpose is to empower women and amplify others to take charge of their investments. In addition, she is the president for Platinum Wealth Management. She currently serves on the as the state commissioner for the Nevada Commission for Women, hosts the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast, and is a best-selling author and speaker. Karen Rudd. We're happy to have you. Karen is a leader, a mother, and a women's advocate. Karen Gregerson Rudd has devoted her career to nonprofits. She's now in the 3rd year of the Girl Scouts of the Sierra Nevada, and she leads the fund development as the Chief Development Officer. Her leadership at the Girl Scouts has elevated the organization's corporate engagement and navigated the organization into financial recovery after the pandemic. She spent most of her career at the American Heart Association in Northern Nevada, leading life-saving programs and advocating for women's health by launching Go Red for Women. That's a great campaign. Karen is passionate about making an impact in the lives of girls as they grow into the leaders of our community. So take it away. It's an amazing group.
Thank you, Nancy. I have a little bit of business first. Kevin, I'm going to need you to open my phone and talk to Sophia's mom. One of our first speakers is stuck because 80 is closed, and so we're trying to get our first speaker here tomorrow, and I was texting her when this started, so I'm going to need you to open my phone and talk to her mom. Thank you.
This is real life,
This is
right?
real life.
This is all the stuff we do.
This is real life. And she's our first speaker of the day on Saturday, and we're trying to get her here in time for her dress rehearsal. So thank you for that. So one of my most favorite things that you said, Alex, was about how much more successful women are when they have other women behind them.
Yes.
And I love that because there's some of my best friends in this room right now, and we've kind of formed these little coalitions of helping each other. And so that's really what this panel is about also. And it's about talking about negotiation, but also our shared experiences as women, as girls, and the things that we face. So Nancy already gave this amazing introduction. So as we do this first round, the first thing I want you to talk about going through, and Caroline, you answer it in your way because you're a student and we want your perspective. But each of us has decided to do something where we're advocating for women in some way. And so my question for each of you is why? Why did you choose this?
Oh. Thank you. So thank you, Nancy, for that beautiful introduction, which I did not write. I'll work on that.
Okay. Call me anytime. I'll help you jack it up.
I came to the nonprofit sector just 2 years ago, as Nancy said, after spending nearly 23 years in the private sector in finance. So it was the 90s, it was Reno, I was a young girl, and respect was not given. It had to be earned. And over the next 23 years, I really did earn respect in my field with the peers in the finance industry. But I saw the problems. And to be in a position now to empower women at a younger age, to give them a voice and to provide the education and the mentorship that we need to excel with confidence is an absolute gift every day.
Nice. do you like to empower other girls?
I'll do like why do I like to empower other girls? So I'm on a swim team called Scarlet Aquatics. Well, there's like 4 branches and we're called Scarlet Elite. And ever since I was young, people have always been nervous for their races, not wanting to swim. And of course, I feel the need to empower them because sometimes somebody needs that push from someone else that they can't give themselves. Some people are extremely insecure and sometimes are not ready for what they're about to do. That push from another girl could make or break what they're doing. And that is why I always like to encourage young girls to go out there, do what they want to do. Because honestly, I want to treat people the way I wasn't. A lot in school, people treated me differently because of my learning differences, and I've lost a couple of friends over that. And I want to treat people the way I wanted to be treated. I know I hate that phrase, but I treat those younger people the way I would have loved to be treated when I was that age.
Amen to that. I think women are amazing.
We're so cool.
I do. And I think I like to empower other women because the only reason I'm here today is because women mentored me and put me in positions of leadership and said, I believe in you. And the older I get, the more senior I get, yes, I teach people in the classroom, but I think my main job as a professor and a coach is to look at people and help them see what they can't see. I think the most powerful words in the English language are, I see this in you. That's what I tell my students. That's what I tell women. I'm that person at cocktail parties. Well, I'll meet you for 5 minutes and I'll say, you should write a book, right? Or you should get out on the speaking market, or you should rewrite that bio and you're gonna call me, right? Because in the end, if I'm alone at the top, then I've done it the wrong way. We either rise together or not at all, period.
Thanks. I think for me, it's kind of looking at the common thread tonight, right? Having a seat at the table and knowing that you're worthy to have a seat at the table. I thought I would always work in television in some capacity just because I did it for 20 years. When my grandpa passed, as we talked about, my grandma and myself, they didn't have a lot, but what they had was spread around at different institutions, different banks, whatnot. And we found ourselves going in front of and sitting in front of different advisors and never had that warm, fuzzy feeling that anyone cared or that anyone really was doing anything in her best interest. And she's like, if we're going through this, imagine how many other women are going through this too. And so not only was it emotional, because I was on the other side of the seat and I was trying to help her in the process, I was like, okay, I'll learn everything I can, and here I am 15 years later in finance with a women-run, women-led firm. So for us, it's really putting out there that everyone deserves a seat at the table for everything, but especially your finances too. So honored to be doing what I'm doing, and I don't take it for granted. Every dollar that someone entrusts us to manage and help support with, it's a huge deal, but again, everybody is worthy of having a seat at the table.
I actually fell into the nonprofit world by accident, and it took me about 6 weeks to absolutely fall in love with it. And it was the impact that people were making in other people's lives. And in the nonprofit world, all of you volunteers, you rally together around that organization to make a difference in lives and in the communities, and that hooked me. And now with Girl Scouts, to have the experience of working with the girls and seeing the girls and having us develop girls, supporting each other and being stronger and more confident, I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight.
One of the other favorite things that you said earlier was when someone told you to do it for the sisterhood. I loved that because I'm also in a world where I'm the only woman at the table, and I'm the CEO of the company. I'm the only woman at the table. So all of us on this panel have been in very intense negotiations from all walks. From you were in finance, you were in the private sector, and Jennifer, I know you do a lot with wealth management. So I want to get into really getting into negotiation because that's what we're here to talk about. And so it starts with what are the issues, because we all have different perspectives because we're all in different fields. What do you think are the biggest challenges facing women today? And just talk about it from your perspective because we want to know your perspective. Don't try to answer it for everyone's. What is in your world, what do you see as the biggest challenges, whether it's for the people that are applying for your scholarships or the women that you're working with, your daughter?
Statistically, there's more women enrolled in college today and graduating from college than ever before. There are more women than men in college and more women graduating than men from college. And then they're going into the workforce. And I don't know if you know this, but women are still making 80% of what men are making. So we're graduating at a higher rate, we're going into the workforce at a higher rate, but we're making less. And I think it has to do with being afraid to ask. And I recently heard a new term, it's called the confidence gap. And it's the difference in confidence that men come to the table with and women come to the table with. When a man applies for a job, if he meets half of the requirements, he's like, I'm in. When a woman looks at the job requirements and she meets 90% of them, she says, I'm not qualified for the job. So it really, I think, is awareness, talking about it. I don't know what else it is, but that's what I see right now. I see that we have the education, we have the opportunity, and then we get in the room and we're not asking for more.
I love that, and if you didn't get one of Alex's books here, obviously it's available on Amazon, but it's going to be there on Saturday too, and her talk is specifically about her topic, her idea of how to ask for more. So, but I was trying to give you time to talk to Caroline about the question, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Super skillful, Kaya. Nobody would have noticed unless you told them. So, she is smooth, right? She's done this before, folks. Okay. So, Caroline, we're talking about maybe a negotiation tip or a reason
I've got this.
You've got this.
So, a negotiation tip. I was asked at one of my past speaking engagements, how are you so fearless? How do you do it? And honestly, the answer is you don't have to be fearless to advocate for yourself. Self-advocacy, especially for women, is advocating in a system that may not be designed for you. Oh no. So, pretty much, I had to advocate a lot in school for things like higher test grades when I deserved them, and more lines in a play. And honestly, I was asked how fearless I was in sending some of these emails. I wasn't fearless. I just have an awful temper. So I just kind of add a couple things that are a little spicy in there, but as long as you end it with warm regards, you're good. So my tip, if you take nothing else from this, is no matter how spicy the email is, end it with warm regards.
Life lessons. Incredible. God, one thing, and I just want to say, Isla, to the wage gap, right? It's around 80% as a composite, but the wage gap is much more severe for our sisters of color, right? So first thing, want to say, we are not all treated equally in this room, right? And so for Black women, Latina women, our Native American sisters, the gap is even bigger, and we all talk about pulling together. We all have to pull together. One of the biggest things I'll say is we need to talk about money with each other, right? I think this is one thing that we can do as women, right? It's something where I've had women who are in my field as speakers who have written to me privately and said, I saw you spoke at this place. I feel like they're lowballing me. And I looked at what they were offered, and they were being lowballed. And so I shared with them what they should ask for, because research shows that when we have the information, we negotiate as well or better. So I was helping other women in that space. And then, a few years ago, a colleague of mine said, I just got a raise. Let me show you everything I negotiated for. Laid it out, numbers, everything. And she actually did that with all of the women in our department. And so as a result, one by one, everybody went in and asked for more successfully. This is what doing it for the sisterhood means. And every single person on this panel, right, as you were saying, Kea, talks about money, helps women with money, helps girls learn how to be women who manage money. And so talk about it with each other. Because the more we share, the more we're all gonna rise.
Yeah, amen.
Girls support girls.
Like, that couldn't have been a better segue for me, truly, right? I feel like with financial literacy, there's so many components that come up. Again, I say the whole worthy factor. There's so many women that will kind of peel back when it comes to money. To throw out a statistic, in 2030, there's $10 trillion that will be going in the hands of women. It's called the biggest wealth transfer out there, period. Whether that's from earning, inheritance, whatever that looks like, money is moving and changing hands. And I think women need to really empower themselves at, whatever place that they're at right now, to get the education so you can make the best decisions for you and empower yourself. That being said, there's interesting psychology behind it too. So on my podcast, one thing we talk about is money memories. And maybe you've heard the term, maybe you haven't. When you think about a money memory, think about when you were a young person or a child or whatever your first money memory was. That truly helped mold your relationship to money as an adult. Now, whether it's something that's serving you now or it's something that you need to change the narrative on to better serve you, think about where you were and why you have the relationship with money that you do currently right now. It's eye-opening. I've had so many people that literally I'm asking that question and it's coming out of them in that moment. So if you think about that, you're able to empower yourself better and say, is this serving me? Am I in the best place with what my money memory is and where I'm at? Do I need to really change that narrative to better serve myself? And I think, again, it's about financial literacy, educating yourself, having someone in your corner, having those conversations with other women so we can do the best we can with money, be the best stewards, and make the best decisions, because money is coming if it's not already here for you.
Let's talk cookies, because so the Girl Scout Cookie Program is the largest girl-led entrepreneurship program in the world, right? But cookies is what's remembered. We start at Daisy's, which is 5 years old, and we go all the way to seniors in high school, and all along the way, they are trained in entrepreneurship in our 5 steps as far as being good business people, setting goals, making a business plan, business ethics, people skills, evaluating and making decisions along the way so that your business is successful. And so our mission is to build girls with courage, confidence, and character. And that is woven through everything that we do and all the programs that we do. And we do have more programs than cookies, in case you don't know. But since we're talking money, let's talk cookies. And so I have a great story to share, only because it was shared with me just a couple of weeks ago. A very successful businessman here in Reno shared with me that one of the little daisies had come and asked to ask him to buy cookies, and she did her whole entire pitch, and she looked him in the eyes, and he said, "You did a very good job. Now, how much should I get? Should I get 1, 2, or 3?" And she said, she looked me square in the eye and said, 3. And he said, "Very good. Ask for what you want. Don't be shy. You did a great job." And he bought $300 worth of cookies. So we support each other when we do this program, and we build girls up to be confident and use their courage, both in the troops and in their practice and then out there. So anyway.
That's a great story. We're going to just do one more question, then we're going to open it up to the audience for questions. So one of the things that was said when Jennifer said money memory, I thought that was so interesting because I actually stumbled on Ask for More in my own life by accident, because people would ask me to, I have said a couple times that I used to practice law. I happen to have a degree right now, but I don't anymore. But I hated it. And so when they would ask me to do legal work, I would give them 3 times the number that I actually, and they would pay me. It would be a number that, okay, if they're gonna pay me this much, I'll do it, but I really don't wanna do it, so I'm gonna say it so high that and I got it 90% of the time. And it changed my whole psyche about how much I was valuing myself, and it's not a small number. And it changed my whole psyche about it, but I noticed the difference when our daughter talks to my husband, when she's negotiating, because now she just graduated from college and she's getting her first and second job, and she's saying, how much should I ask for? And he says, double that. And she just listens. And so she has a different money memory, which I think we can all probably relate to, because if we have reached a ceiling and we want to be getting more. But Jennifer, and I encourage you to go listen to Jennifer's podcast, Platinum Wealth Management, and she is talking about this every week with women, all of these different things that are holding us back and keeping us from where we all can be. But you have to first become aware that you have this thing that's holding you back, and then you can do something about it. So with that, the last question I want to ask, and then we'll open it up, is do you have something like my story where I just didn't want to do it, so I asked for more? What is something in negotiation that you learned about yourself, or you had some amazing experience? I'm going to remember to give you the microphone this time.
So one of the unique things when you're in the nonprofit sector is you ask for money a lot. And when you're not used to asking for money, that can be very uncomfortable. And so I've had to navigate and find my own way. I don't make a hard ask. I build relationships. And I have found, and if you are fortunate enough to be at Alex's TED Talk on Saturday, I had the opportunity of hearing her practice her TED Talk. And I don't want to give any secrets away, but one of her tips is about not requesting, but building a relationship.
Yes.
And when I heard it, I think I always knew that I did it, but it wasn't a conscious decision. So really building relationships for me is a form of negotiating that I think builds long-term, deep opportunity, as opposed to that one-off question or ask that you're going to make.
So good. Experience negotiating for yourself successfully?
Okay, so I've had a lot of experiences where I've negotiated for myself and it's been successful. I've also had a couple where it's not been successful. But I think the greatest tip for finding a successful way to negotiate is, first of all, having a rapport with somebody is a great way to get what you want. But ask for more, guys. Ask for more money. And so I was not actually negotiating for money because I'm in 7th grade. But I was negotiating about, I'm pretty sure a lab grade. And I was really nervous, even though I have a pretty good relationship with this teacher. She's a great teacher. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be great. So I walked in and I said, hey, I almost failed this lab report. I don't really understand what you said on your feedback. Could you help me? And of course, if anybody else is like me, they kind of catastrophize when it could be I was imagining she was gonna be no. But of course that wasn't gonna happen. She said yes. She showed me what I did wrong, and I was like, oh, okay. And of course, because lab report grade was under 75, I was able to revise it. And I ended up going up I'm pretty sure over 45% in a grade. My grade went up over 45% on that lab report. And honestly, ask for what you're afraid to ask for. That is my biggest tip. Ask for what you are afraid to ask for. Because once I was at swim and I asked to get moved up a lane because I thought I wasn't being challenged, my coach said, yeah, you aren't being challenged. We're going to move you up.
Right, so sometimes those fears, we think, right, we have the fears and then they don't materialize. That was awesome. Okay, a successful negotiation for me. I want to talk about risk and how we perceive risk. Because a lot of times our brain may tell us that we're risking something, but I always ask myself, and I tell women to ask themselves, what am I risking? If the answer is they might say no, then I'm going to tell you to go for it every single time, right? Because what's the worst thing that happens? You're still in the same place. And the biggest time I asked for more, this was actually not for money, so I wrote that book proposal. Remember the one where I jacked up the section where I talked about myself? I was in Spain with Caroline. I was giving some lectures at a university, and I was pacing around my hotel room, freaking out because I was about to hit send and cold call a literary agent, somebody who said she wasn't accepting submissions. And I wrote her anyway, hit send, and I said to her, I read this book, I saw you're the agent, you did this book, you should do mine. Took a deep breath, and then that Monday morning, I was pacing around trying to make a plan for after I was rejected. And little did I know that at that moment, she was leaving me a voicemail. This was one of the most powerful women agents in all of nonfiction. And she called me and said, I read your book over the weekend. I love it. Let's do this. So always, if you're fearing the answer is no, go for it. And then I want you to slide into my LinkedIn DMs and tell me what happened, all right?
Tell me too.
I think negotiating from my experience is really communicating, but listening along the way. Have a listening tour. Make sure you're on the same page with folks. And I'm going to piggyback on the relationship, right? We built a great relationship. We didn't know each other before. Now I just adore you as a human being. And really, talking through is so important. When was the last time you really took time to have a conversation with someone but truly listened to what they were saying? I think that opens up negotiation because then you're on the same page with that person. One thing I talk with my team, who's here, a lot of them today, which is awesome, is we want to make sure that we are on the same page 110%. 99% is not good enough. 100% is not good enough. We want to be there 110%, not only for each other and lifting each other as a team, but for clients, for prospects, for whoever we're talking to. Whatever we're doing is to be there, but truly be there in the now and listen to what people are needing to be able to communicate back with education or whatever that is. One thing women don't want to be sold to. I don't know about all of you, but most women don't want to be sold to. You want to be able to have the education and really learn what you're doing to make the best educated decision for yourself. So that's what we're here for, and I feel like that's so important in negotiation, is just the communication side. Truly listening, truly being present, and being heart-centric with what you're doing.
There is a disadvantage of being the end of the rope. Yes, I can absolutely relate with what Isla said as well. So I want to pivot it a little bit away from money and just in regards to asking other people to get involved. Being in the nonprofit world, people are busy, and you're asking a lot. You're asking of their time. Everybody works a long day at work and then has family and commitments, but we need to ask you above and beyond that and to give more. And that can be scary, and it is about everybody finding their why, right? And being able to prioritize it and building their confidence in that they can do it and the collaboration that comes in that. And it's impactful. So where you found your why and the impact. I have to echo that.
Thank you. Eric, will you come to the microphone? Can I take your microphone? Yeah, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for anyone on the panel? Yes. It's still on. Thank you so much. Right there, she has one.
Hi, and thank you that for the beautiful arrangement. And there's a lot of the women and the women empowerment we can see. So my question is to you. So I have picked when you discussed about your resilience, about the swimming and being win-win situation and that, this and that. So the question is, what you will choose yourself for your self-worth? Like, can you give some tips that we can pursue for our self-worth as well? So that is my question.
Okay, thank you. So the question is about how do you hold fast and preserve your self-worth?
Actually, how to negotiate. Like, it's about to negotiate on everything. So how a woman can negotiate their self-worth regarding pursuing their boldness and their resilience.
Yes, okay. So in negotiation, thinking about how we hold fast to our self-worth. Well, the good news is, what I was taught about negotiation 20 years ago is just not true. I was taught you have to be the biggest, most imposing presence in the room, right, to be a great negotiator. And I am 5'2" in loafers, okay? So I am never the biggest person in any room. And so what I would say is your self-worth comes from knowing yourself extremely well. I actually have felt like as I've gotten older, in my 20s, I think I was still struggling a bit with self-confidence and who I was. I was holding on to what society thought I should be. And in my 30s, a bit more of the same. And then in my 40s, I have felt so liberated to be the person I am on the inside. I don't need to impress or be a shade of myself for anyone. And it's holding fast to that. The more we can know ourselves, the more we're looking in the mirror to think about who we authentically are, then we negotiate from that. I'll leave you with this. I had a very wise student who came over from India, and he told me his personal mantra is, only do what only you can do. Think about what you are uniquely called to do on this earth, the times that you feel the most joy, the most flow. And when you lean into that, that is when you are going to be wildly successful. Knowing your self-worth or negotiating from your self-worth starts from knowing who you are and loving that person. That's my answer.
I love
Thank
that.
you. I have another thing that I have faced. Okay, I'm not used to. I'm sorry. So there is the thing. So there's the says in regarding to negotiation that is never accept the first offer. Okay. So I've been in this situation and I have been offered some grabbing the golden situation or the opportunity. So my boss asked me that you're gonna get this situation or that you're gonna hold this situation, this and that. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna grab this. Instant, I was like, okay, I'm gonna grab this and I'm in. And other day, he emailed me that is, you're not gonna grab this. And I was like, why? And he was like, okay, because you didn't take time to think. So you were so desperate about it. So we are not going to accept it. So that made me feel that there is some dilemmas, and why is that? Then I researched why he rejected me later on. Okay.
I'm sorry, this is an awesome conversation that we should continue, but it's 7.
Yes, so
you guys can continue this conversation, but I think we should probably shift over to, because we were supposed to be already doing champagne by 7.
yes,
I just
okay.
want to be respectful of
Come on
everybody's time.
Saturday
Yeah,
to
of
talk,
course.
and also come see me after. But also, I don't accept the first offer. And if anybody penalizes you for negotiating, that is a red flag about the place you are, and you should find a different table to sit at. That's my advice.
So before we break for, and that was a wonderful conversation, we just are out of time.
Yep.
So if we can go to the last slide, Cynthia. So there are still tickets available. This one got sold out, but there's still tickets available for Saturday. Come here, Alexandra, and we've got 15 amazing speakers on Saturday, so I hope you'll all come join us. And there should have been a QR code that did not make it on the slide. So it's TEDxReno.org. And we hope to see you guys on Saturday. And there is champagne over on one of these tables, and one of these tables is sparkling wine for younger people, or who, if you don't like champagne. And there's Girl Scout cookies. What could be better than that? So thank you. Let's give a round of applause to all of our panelists and Alex and Caroline.